As Wally swam leisurely in the calm river, something unexpected jumped out of the water and latched onto his back. It held on tightly, refusing to let go until they reached the shore. You won't believe what it was. Don't go too far, Lauren called out to her adventurous dog as he paddled farther into the water. Wally, her mischievous golden retriever, had a mind of his own whenever he got near water. Normally obedient, he became deaf to commands the moment he started swimming. Ignoring Lauren, he dove into his favorite pastime, hunting for floating sticks or anything unusual bobbing on the river's surface. Lauren couldn't help but smile, watching his antics with fond amusement. She had brought Wally to Hickory Hills Lake in Massachusetts, his absolute favorite spot. Outfitted in his bright orange protective vest, Wally had been happily paddling for hours. Lauren finally decided it was time to head home and called out to him. With a reluctant bark, Wally began making his way back to the shore, moving at his usual slow pace as if savoring every moment in the water. But just as he neared the shoreline, Lauren froze. Something strange emerged from the water, scuttling up onto Wally's back. It clung there, motionless. For a moment, Lauren panicked. What if it was dangerous? She fought the urge to shout, not wanting to alarm her dog or the mysterious creature. Her eyes stayed glued to Wally as he paddled closer, completely oblivious to the hitchhiker on his back. When they finally reached the shore, Lauren's tension turned into wide-eyed astonishment. Perched on Wally's back was a small, waterlogged turtle. The unlikely pair looked almost comical together, Wally blissfully unaware of his passenger. This kind of obliviousness was nothing new for Wally. He lived for the water, often ignoring Lauren's best attempts to lure him out with treats or toys. Bath time was his favorite activity, which was a stark contrast to how he'd once feared water entirely. Wally's love for swimming had been a surprise to Lauren, considering how their story began. She had adopted him as a tiny, frail puppy found abandoned on the streets by a local shelter. At the time, Lauren had just started volunteering at the shelter, intending to help out for a single afternoon. But when Wally was rushed in, malnourished and struggling to survive, she couldn't walk away. She watched as the shy, fragile pup slowly regained his strength through careful nursing and love. Over time, he blossomed into the energetic, joyful companion she now adored. Seeing him dive headfirst into life, literally and figuratively, reminded her how far he had come. And today, with a turtle hitching a ride on his back, Wally had once again proven that life with him would always be full of surprises. Lauren had never owned a pet before, but when the shelter decided it was time to put Wally up for adoption, she didn't hesitate. She immediately signed the papers, asking for the little Labrador to come home with her. The shelter staff had already noticed the special bond between Lauren and the puppy. She had been there since his arrival, nurturing him back to health with unwavering care and attention. Wally had grown familiar with her comforting presence, making her the perfect candidate for his adoption. The shelter happily agreed, and soon, Lauren brought him home. As a Labrador, Wally was brimming with energy. Lauren loved taking him to the park, where he could run freely and meet other dogs. His playful nature often brought a smile to her face, but beneath all the fun, he was also fiercely protective. Wally would instinctively position himself between Lauren and strangers, his alert gaze a silent warning. Though she often laughed off his protective behavior, it warmed her heart to see how much he cared for her. But it wasn't until one summer afternoon that Lauren truly understood the depth of his devotion. That day, Lauren had invited a few friends over for lunch and decided to cool off with a swim in her backyard pool. The pool had been a big investment, but she cherished it as her personal sanctuary. She had left Wally inside, assuming he would nap while she swam. Floating peacefully on the water, face down and lost in her thoughts, she was startled by a sudden, frantic barking. She lifted her head just in time to see Wally burst through the patio door and leap into the pool. It was his first time in the water, and his clumsy paddling made it clear he had no idea how to swim. But that didn't stop him. He was determined to reach her. Alarmed, Lauren quickly swam to him, scooping him up in her arms. Wally barked and wriggled, clearly distressed, thinking she had been in danger. She hugged him tightly, apologizing softly for scaring him. After they climbed out of the pool, Lauren dried him off and reassured him with treats and cuddles. That night, she couldn't stop thinking about how her loyal pup had braved the unfamiliar water for her sake. The very next day, Wally's curiosity about the pool had only grown. As Lauren prepared for another swim, she found him standing at the edge, peering into the water. Smiling at his newfound interest, she gently lifted him and placed him into the shallow end. At first, Wally moved cautiously, splashing as he figured out how to paddle. Lauren stayed close, encouraging him as he gained confidence. However, it wasn't long before he grew tired, so she carried him out and dried him off again. Despite his initial hesitance, it was clear that Wally had discovered a new love. From then on, the pool became Wally's second favorite place, right after the park. Anytime Lauren swam, Wally would happily join her, barking with excitement as he paddled alongside. Even when Lauren wasn't swimming, she often found him sneaking into the water, playfully splashing around on his own. Watching him thrive in the water brought her so much joy. It was just another reminder of the incredible bond they shared. Although Lauren appreciated Wally's growing love for swimming, she couldn't ignore the risks. She worried about his tendency to jump into the pool when she wasn't around. Leaving a dog unsupervised in deep water could be dangerous, and Lauren had heard too many stories of accidents involving unattended pets. Determined to keep Wally safe, she decided to take preventive measures. She hastily put up a small fence between the grass and the pool area, hoping it would deter him from taking solo swims. The fence wasn't sturdy. It was a quick fix, but Lauren believed it would do the job. The next time Wally dashed outside for a swim, he skidded to a halt at the fence. His confusion was evident as he walked along the barrier, sniffing and pawing at it in search of a way through. Lauren watched with satisfaction, confident her plan had worked. What she didn't anticipate, however, was Wally's resourcefulness. Spotting the fence's weak spot where it joined the shed, Wally stuck his nose under the edge and began wriggling. Before Lauren could stop him, he had squeezed his way through. She called out, but it was too late. The next thing she heard was the unmistakable splash of water and a triumphant bark. There he was, paddling happily in the pool, completely unbothered by the obstacle he had just conquered. Realizing the fence wouldn't hold him back, Lauren decided on a different approach. She took Wally to a professional trainer to ensure he had the skills to stay safe in the water. She also invested in a sturdy protective jacket and made a point to supervise all his swimming sessions. Over time, Wally grew into a confident and skilled swimmer. This brought immense joy to Lauren, who loved swimming herself. Together, they began exploring rivers and lakes, creating unforgettable memories as they discovered new swimming spots. Wally's enthusiasm for water only grew. Anytime he spotted a lake, river, or even a puddle, he would rush toward it, eager to dive in. Lauren adored watching him thrive. As a Labrador, Wally was genetically inclined to love water, and seeing him embrace this trait made her proud. But Wally's swimming skills weren't just a source of happiness. They would soon prove invaluable. One sunny afternoon, Lauren and Wally visited a secluded swimming spot. While Lauren stayed on the shore, Wally paddled joyfully in the water. Suddenly, his demeanor changed. He began barking furiously, then started swimming deeper into the lake. Alarmed, Lauren called out, but she already knew how determined Wally could be once he set his mind on something. She stood frozen, hoping he wasn't getting into trouble. Wally's head disappeared briefly beneath the surface before he turned back toward the shore. Lauren gasped when she saw what he was carrying, a small fawn, limp and unmoving, cradled gently in his mouth. Despite the weight, Wally paddled determinedly, struggling to bring the animal to safety. Lauren didn't hesitate. She waded into the water, meeting Wally halfway and gently coaxing him to release the fawn into her arms. Together, they made their way to shore. Lauren carefully inspected the fawn, relieved to find it alive but exhausted. She couldn't believe what she had just witnessed. Wally, her playful, mischievous Labrador, had saved a life. That day, Lauren's heart swelled with pride. Wally's love for water wasn't just a quirk. It was a testament to his bravery and loyalty. In her eyes, he wasn't just her swimming companion, he was her hero. Lauren gently placed the baby deer on the ground, and Wally immediately moved closer. He nudged the fawn's motionless body with his nose, his soft whimpers echoing his concern. When the fawn still didn't respond, Wally began licking it tenderly, as if trying to revive it with his affection. Lauren crouched beside them, her heart racing. She wasn't an expert in animal care, but it was clear the fawn was still alive. Its faint, shallow breaths were barely perceptible. Fortunately, Lauren had a close relationship with Wally's vet, who agreed to come by as soon as she explained the situation. While they waited, Lauren kept an eye on the fragile animal. Before the vet could arrive, however, the fawn stirred. Its eyes fluttered open and it jumped to its feet, startled by the sight of Lauren and Wally. In a panic, it bolted back into the water. The fawn's legs wobbled as it tried to swim, but it was too weak to stay afloat. Within seconds, it began to sink. Without hesitation, Wally leaped into the water, paddling toward the struggling deer. Lauren followed, splashing into the lake to assist him. Together, they secured the fawn and brought it back to shore, this time holding it more firmly to prevent another escape. When the vet arrived, he examined the fawn and confirmed Lauren's suspicions. It was malnourished and injured, far too weak to survive on its own. He suspected that the fawn's mother was either missing or had met an untimely fate. The vet also pointed out an eye injury that, if untreated, could render the fawn blind. He offered to take the fawn to an animal rescue facility where it could receive treatment and recover before being released back into the wild. Lauren agreed, though parting with the little deer wasn't easy, especially for Wally. The dog sniffed the fawn one last time, giving it a gentle lick as if to say goodbye. That day, Wally's compassion and bravery left Lauren in awe. He had demonstrated a remarkable capacity to care for others, something she admired deeply in her loyal companion. And today, Wally was showing that same instinct once again. As Wally swam back to shore with a new hitchhiker on his back, Lauren's curiosity grew. At first, she thought it might be an otter. But as Wally drew closer, she realized it was something completely unexpected, a woodchuck. The little animal clung to Wally's back, seemingly exhausted and content to hitch a ride. Wally glanced over his shoulder briefly, acknowledging the unexpected passenger, but continued paddling as though this was a normal occurrence. Lauren couldn't help but marvel at the scene. Woodchucks are notoriously shy and tend to avoid humans, often resorting to aggressive tactics when threatened. Why this one had ended up in the water, and why it had chosen Wally as its lifeline, was a mystery. Lauren wondered if the woodchuck was in trouble, perhaps searching for a missing young one, or if it had simply ventured into the water to cool off under the summer sun and became too tired to swim. Whatever the reason, it had instinctively sought refuge on Wally's back, and the dog didn't seem to mind at all. In fact, he appeared pleased with his newfound friend. For Wally, swimming was more than a pastime. It was a chance to connect with the world around him. And whether it was rescuing a baby deer or giving a tired woodchuck a lift, his joy for life and love for others shone through every time he entered the water. Wally's love and compassion shone brightest around children. He had a habit of greeting every little one he met with a cheerful lick on the face, a gesture that never failed to earn giggles. His friendly nature made him impossible not to adore. It seemed there was no one Wally couldn't connect with, and that connection extended to animals too. Perhaps the woodchuck had sensed this and instinctively trusted the Labrador not to harm it. As Wally swam closer to the shore, the woodchuck hopped off his back, paddling beside him for the final stretch. Once on dry land, the two animals paused, studying each other. Then, as if in a gesture of gratitude, they touched their snouts together briefly. Lauren watched, captivated, as the woodchuck scampered off into the woods, vanishing among the trees. Afterward, Lauren gave Wally a well-earned treat from the snacks she had brought along. True to his energetic spirit, he was ready to dive back into the water moments later. But for Lauren, the day had been eventful enough. As they headed home, she couldn't stop replaying the incredible interaction in her mind. It amazed her how much trust had passed between the two animals, despite their meeting under such unusual circumstances. Wally's gentle patience and willingness to help the woodchuck without a single sign of annoyance was a testament to his remarkable nature. Fortunately, Lauren had her phone with her to capture the heartwarming moment. When she shared the photos online, they quickly went viral. Thousands of people admired the unique bond between the two animals and praised Wally's kindness. Many familiar with Labrador Retriever's natural affinity for water suggested that Wally could make an excellent lifeguard. Lauren laughed at the idea, picturing Wally in a little lifeguard uniform. While she knew he'd leap into the water to help anyone in need, she had no intention of turning his passion into a career. To this day, Wally hasn't lost his love for swimming. It's a part of who he is and always will be. More importantly, his unshakable friendliness and joyful spirit continue to bring happiness to everyone he meets, whether human or animal. Wally's heart was as big as his love for water, and Lauren couldn't imagine life without him.